the members that are on the call, please unmute yourselves and just say here when I call your name. Okay, Mike Bobbitt.
Present.
Margaret Evans. David Kahn Baker. Michael Martin. Andrea Ogunromi.
Here.
Maurice Reed. Miguel Santos. Alan Jones.
Here.
Laura Rossman.
Here.
Dennis Wilson.
Here.
Dan Maskin.
Here.
Charlie Quinn.
Here.
Eve Villas.
Here.
All right, thank you very much. There is not a quorum established. There's not enough advisory council members who are present in person.
Okay.
And I'll turn it over to Dennis Wilson.
Okay. Thank you very much. Good morning to everyone and welcome. The first action item would be to approve the minutes of a couple of last meetings. We can't do that without a quorum, so we're going to move forward. And I would like to welcome first Zoila Castillo, Deputy Secretary of State for Economic Opportunities.
Hi, good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you, Dennis.
Good.
Thank you.
Good morning. Okay. And then Jennifer Gallo, who is here with us in Albany, the Director, Bureau of Fiscal Management.
Good morning. My name is Jen Gallo. That's what I go by. I was recently put into the Director of Financial Administration role in the Department of State in the Fiscal Division. So I'm learning all things CSBG at a rapid pace, and I'm here to listen and learn.
Let me go back. Zoila, did you have anything you wanted to say?
Okay. I
I'm
just
not trying
wanted
to put you on the
briefly-
spot.
No, it's okay. I thought that we would go around first, but by all means, it's a pleasure to be here. As Dennis mentioned, I am Deputy Secretary for Economic Opportunities, so I have the pleasure to work with the Department of State's Division of Community Services. I'm very proud of the work that I do day to day. I'm very proud of the work that Manny, Nikki, and the team does towards developing economic recovery and to improve our communities. And Dennis, I would also like to take a moment to thank every single member of the Advisory Council. I would especially like to give a special acknowledgement to Dennis Wilson, who, as we all know, he's the president of the Advisory Council, as well as the director of the Fulmont Montgomery Community Action Agency. I know that Jackie Orr is also with us, I was told, and as the CEO of the New York State Community Action Association, we work very closely with Jackie, and I had the pleasure to meet her and many of you at the NISCA conference last summer. I can't believe it was just almost a year ago. And I can attest to the wonderful work that you all do. And it's really my pleasure and humble honor to be able to advance the mission of CSBG programming, advance the mission of the Division of Community Services, and work alongside and in partnership with the community action agencies to really improve the lives of community throughout the state and people in need. I also want to acknowledge and thank the services of Jen Gallo, who's the DOS Director for Fiscal and works very closely with CSBG, as well as Rob Vanderblees, who has been counsel for CSBG and provides very thorough and detailed knowledge and expertise to our programming and helps us advance the mission of the program. So I just briefly wanted to take this moment to introduce myself. I have met some of you, as I mentioned last summer, I am relatively new to the role. It's almost going to be a year, so maybe not so new. But it's truly a pleasure and my honor to be able to work with you all and do this special kind of work. So thank you for having me. And with that being said, I will turn it over to you all, and I'm here to learn and listen.
Okay, thank you for the comments. We appreciate it. Very, very complimentary and motivational. We appreciate it. Division of Community Services updates. Manny, you're up next.
Thank you. Thank you all. Again, welcome to this morning's advisory council meeting. I'm hoping that the information that will be shared with you will be useful. I want to underscore the importance of the relationship between the council and the Division of Community Services and the Department of State, especially this year as there are so many things that are going on, specifically the development of a new state plan, monitoring overhaul work group, and then just the guidance that we received from the council as working partners. And I think it's important that we underscore that as we try to set the framework for the work that we have to do for today and throughout 2023. I know that we can always count on the council's good counsel, if you will, good advice, recommendations, and I want to emphasize the importance of the input that the council does give to us in the process of developing our state plan and our monitoring. It's underscored by the relationship that we have with NISCA and Jackie, who are clearly with the working groups. Nikki's going to speak to that. She is coordinating most of that work. And I know that Dennis is going to raise this later on, the importance of having an active council is very, very important to the work that we do at CSBG, not only in administering the program, but also in fulfilling the mission of CSBG. There's been a lot of good work that, as many of you know, that we've been working with the Office of Community Services out of Washington, clearly the partnership with NISCA, clearly the partnership with the Advisory Council, and most importantly with the network itself. But I think it is really, really important that we emphasize today the importance of having an active and engaged advisory council, meaning that we look at its membership and making sure that we get a quorum, which has been an issue for us in the last few meetings. And I know that Dennis has raised the issue with me several times, and we hope to address that moving forward. And as I said, I know that he's going to speak to that. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Nikki, who has a PowerPoint that I think we'll share with everybody on what we're doing. Okay.
Yep. So one of our first updates is in looking at our DOS memo regarding income eligibility, we were able to update it based on the 200% federal poverty guidelines that have been extended until September 30th of 2023. We'll be sending out communication this coming week to the network. One of the highlighted changes you'll see is that DCS will be monitoring for a written policy on income eligibility. And so we will be talking about that during some further meetings and rolling out an email with all of the updated policy. Next on the agenda is an update of the annual report from Amy Kohler. She is on her way down, so I will go ahead and just jump to the next slide. To give you updates about our state plan work group. So in partnership with NISCA, we've started drafting our 24-25 state plan. The overall goal is to give an opportunity to the network to make recommendations, receive their feedback as it relates to the 24-25 CSBG state plan. So some of the discussion items that we've already talked about is updating the state goals, in particular implementing the use of the database. We've talked about the eligible entity involvement and giving as many opportunities to the network to either provide feedback, comments, think it was mentioned earlier that the regional meetings will be happening in the next couple of months. So again, we plan to go over and solicit feedback as it relates to the state plan from the network. There'll be a public comment period, a public hearing, and I'll go over some of those timelines at the end of the slides. We've talked about some of the organizational standard assessments, specifically our monitoring framework. And the goal is to set training and technical assistance goals with established timelines, and timelines to receive feedback and reports in a timely fashion. So those will be some of the updates as it relates to the state plan. We've talked about performance management, again, going back to training and technical assistance, and how the database can help reduce some of the redundancies of asking for documents. And it'll be able to list and identify ways to improve training and technical assistance from DCS. And one of the last areas that we've spoken about so far too is the use of discretionary funds. So historically, we've been able to do a few initiatives such as the Fatherhood Initiative, Trauma Informed Care. Most recently, the Financial Literacy RFA has been released. And so we're soliciting some ideas from the network. And so far, some mental health training opportunities and substance abuse training opportunities have been brought up for discussion. Again, I'll give you my contact information at the end of the PowerPoint if anybody has any ideas that they would like to see included in the state plan. Next, we're providing an update on our monitoring work group. Again, in partnership with NISCA, we were able to form a monitoring work group. The overall goals of this work group were to take a look at our overall framework for monitoring. We talked about the purpose of monitoring, and that we really need a comprehensive tool that'll be based on a 3-year cycle. So again, the main goals are to reduce the administrative burden and the redundancies of asking for the same documents. It is a continuation. It kind of stemmed out of the work from the TRACS work group previous to this work group that was, again, in partnership with NISCA. That work group was able to look at the TRACS document and remove a lot of the same questions that were being asked over and over. And so in that process, we saw further need to streamline some of our monitoring practices and making sure that our tools are comprehensive. And now that we do have a state database for community services, how can we implement the use of that database? And so we're looking at 3 foundational components, which will be a triennial assessment. Again, it's a comprehensive assessment that will happen every 3 years. We're looking at doing the annual assessment of just the organizational standards, and then in between, based on the outcome of the triennial assessment, we have the capacity to do a TAP based on the database. And so those other monitoring visits will be based on those not met areas of compliance as it relates to training and technical assistance. Again, if there's any feedback, again, the work group, all of the work groups have been very helpful and instrumental. So I do want to thank all of the members who have, again, been in partnership with NISCA. They've given us really valuable feedback. We come back to the table internally at DOS and DCS, and we talk about everything that's been shared with us. And so my final slide is just the events and timelines that are coming over the next couple of months. So again, drafting the 24-25 New York State CSBG state plan, we started in February. The entire drafting process will go until July. We do have the NISCA regional meetings coming up. They're listed in the presentation. So May 4th, they'll be in the New York City, Long Island area. May 11th, the Oswego area. May 24th, the Capital District area, June 14th, Western New York, and then June 21st, Shenango area. We are anticipating our public comment period to be between June 1st and July 15th. We anticipate our public hearing being July 13th, and then finalizing the final state plan for submission to our executive executive office mid-July through mid-August with another opportunity to brief the council. We're looking at establishing another advisory council meeting sometime during July. That way you guys can see the final proposed draft plan. And then we anticipate submitting by August 28th with a final deadline on August 30th. And then, as I said, just general reminders, if there's any feedback, comments, recommendations for the state plans, or thoughts on our monitoring, please feel free to email me directly, or you can always send an email to our DOS shared mailbox. They should be posted on the screen as everybody can see. And I will pass it now over to Amy Kohler, who will give an update on our annual report.
Good morning. So we are finalizing for the submission for the annual report now. I want to thank you all for your timely submissions. The SMART forms looked really good this year. I appreciate the time and effort that all of you put into them. So for Module 1, last year, any of you that were on the meeting, I went kind of through a PowerPoint of what we have to complete in Module 1, which is just a lot of repeat from year to year. But the one thing that does change is the report on the organizational standards. And I just wanted to let everyone know that we have bumped up our 100% compliance to 27 agencies now. So good job for that. And I also wanted to just touch on the narratives. I read all the narratives that were submitted for both reports, and I pointed out to Manny that you guys did a really good job pinpointing the achievements of your agencies. So thank you for taking the time to do that. Tomorrow, it's due tomorrow. We did, my team and I also inputted all your data into our new database. So next year, we are going to ask you to use the database, and you'll have this year's information already inputted in there. That's all I got.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Nikki. Anybody have any questions for either?
One question, the public hearing in July, is that only in person or a hybrid meeting?
Yeah. Yes, check in with council, because I have to be careful about that. Yeah, we'll do hybrid. I think that's what we did 2 years ago as well, so.
Any other questions?
I have a question, and this is a little off topic, but it reminded me when Nikki mentioned policy, and I think she had talked about the income eligibility guidance. So we had you had talked to the EDs a few months ago about the tripartite board policy.
Still working.
You're still working on it, okay. Yes, thank you. But it's still in process, still drafting.
Yes, but that's part of the overall monitoring thing as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Anybody else? Okay, thank you to everybody. Jackie, you're up now to give us
Oh,
updates.
wow, that was fast.
I run these meetings pretty fast.
You do, Dennis. All right, well, thank you for inviting me to talk to the advisory council. So I know advisory council members received my report. So I'm just gonna highlight some work, and I know a lot of you, a part of this meeting, know a lot about what NISCA's been doing over the last several years, but there's some things that I just want to bring to your attention. So one of the things is our NISCA Learn. You know that we have lots of courses in NISCA Learn, and now through the amazing work of Phoebe and Charlie and others at NISCA, we have incorporated all of the webinars that we've done in the past that we've been able to record into NISCA Learn. So we have, I think, over 15 courses as well as 50 recorded webinars. So now it's like the one-stop shop for all of our learning. And we've also organized it in tracks, so you can go in and select a track and kind of get guided as to what courses and webinars that would be best for you. We also, as a part of our strategic plan, talked about creating a poverty academy. That's in quotes because we're not sure we like the name, but we haven't come up with anything better yet. So we're still using that. But that is really going to be having some sort of structure, especially for new staff to come in and get an understanding of what poverty looks like within New York and within each of their communities. We started to create a PowerPoint presentation using a former one that we had, and we're going to be sharing it with the Emerging Leader Group next month in April to get some feedback from them. We continue to do network-wide trainings. That really is based on what we hear from the network. You know, what are requests? People, you know, community action agency staff say, oh, we'd like to have training in this area or that area. So we then go out and find folks that will be able to do that. And we recently had a CSBG annual report webinar with Muska Cameron from NASCASP, and it was terrific. We had like 70 folks on the webinar. I think she provided really good information about creating the, when you're working on your NPIs and services and how to build out your community action plan. So we talked to her about making this an annual event. And then we're going to be sharing, I think, more of our community action plan format with her so she has a better understanding of how we in New York do it. But so that was positive. We continue to do introduction to Roma trainings. We do them basically every other month or quarterly. We do them that often because we fill up within hours of putting out the registration, and then we have a waiting list for the next one. We have lots of new staff who come into the network, and then folks who feel like they may want a refresher. It's over 3 days. It's like about 3 hours every day. And one of the great things is now we do them all remote, so you can be anywhere in the state and attend the trainings. We continue to work with our neuroscience and ACES trainers. We also do those trainings quarterly for community action agency staff and the network to have a better understanding of NEAR and ACES, and we are going to be looking at expanding that and having our certified trainers train to have presenters in our network, so that those folks will have a basic understanding of ACES and they will be able, and trauma-informed care, and they can then train within their own agencies. We are going to be doing, as Lola said, she joined us for our last conference, which was terrific. We're going to be doing our next one in September, and you're invited, so mark your calendar. It's September 19th, 20th, and 21st, and it's going to be at the Lake Ontario Conference Center in Oswego. So it'll be beautiful that time of year, so we're looking forward to that. And we're now just starting to plan our workshops, so we're sending out a call for proposals next week. So if you have any ideas, please fill out the proposal. We also, as I mentioned, Emerging Leader Institute. We've been doing the Emerging Leader Institute since ELI since 2010. This year we have 37 who are joining us for the first time, and we have 9 who are coming back for a second year. We have 3 seminars every year. 2 are in person and 1 is remote, and the in-person one will happen next month in Syracuse. Working with DOS, and particularly Jessica Lowell, we have a small group of CAA staff who've been working on those community action plan templates, and we've released so far 8 to the network, and we're working on 2 others that I think maybe we finalized at our last meeting. We got feedback from we did a survey to the network about how many folks know that they're out there, are they using them, so we got really good feedback. It really was overwhelmingly people know that the templates are out there and that you can use them as guidance documents to build your community action plans. So agency staff are using them and have found some real benefits from them. And we asked for some feedback as to what more templates you would like us to work on, so that's happening. We continue with our Aroma Alliance group. The group is getting together in person in May to have a meeting. We're inviting Carrie Gibson from the National Association for Roma Professionals to come in and do training with us. Barbara Mooney will also be joining us remotely, and then we're going to be having some internal conversations more specific to New York. As Nikki mentioned, we're doing regional meetings. We continue to do our listservs and affinity groups, and of course, our newsletter, our poverty report will be coming out. We're hoping to get it out next month or early in May. We do a poverty report every year. There's a couple things that I do want to add that I didn't put into my report. We just sent out a TTA, Training and Technical Assistance survey to the network. Thanks for feedback from Manny and Nikki. We do this actually, the TTA survey actually lives for NISCA under our RPIC grant, which is our Regional Performance Innovation Consortia. We're the lead for Region 2. So that's one of our deliverables under that grant, where just about every year we survey the network to see what training and technical assistance needs they have. As of yesterday, we had 105 responses, which was pretty good. We were happy about that. The deadline is tomorrow. Haven't done it yet, please go ahead and do it. So that this also gives us some more ideas and suggestions for what training and technical assistance the network needs. And we did do our inaugural podcast. So if you have not seen it yet, please, we've gotten so much positive feedback. This actually also came out of our strategic planning session. So I want to thank Greg Richards at Capco, Renee Hungerfoot at Orleans, Genesee, and Diane Hewitt-Johnson from Chautauqua. They were our 3 guests, and I thought it was excellent. It was a perfect first podcast for us. We have some internal ideas on NISCA, but we're really looking for ideas from the network. We've already gotten some from folks, and we already have our next one set up. I won't tell you what the topic is, but we're going to be recording that next week, and we plan on doing one every month for at least 6 months, and then we're going to just kind of take a look and see what comments we got back, and then, roll out the next series. And then the last thing I want to say, and many of you already know, NISCA had applied for funding through the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, for the Affordable Connectivity Program, and we received $500,000. We were very happy to have received the funding. It was a little bit less than what we requested, but we're working with Cattaraugus Community Action, Connecting Communities, oh, Tina, I forgot your name already. Cattaraugus Community Action, Cortland Community Action, Madison County Community Action, and Ulster. So those are the 4 community action agencies that we're working with, and we're going to be connecting folks to making sure that they're aware of and have access to broadband and internet services in their communities. So it's a 2-year grant. It's probably will start next month as soon as we get the official sign off, and then we're off and running for 2 years. So since then, we've Heidi and my staff and myself have connected with the New York Connect office, so we've been working with them as well. So we're excited about that effort because we know how important it is. We realized kind of during COVID that it's not so much a luxury anymore, but a need to be able to have reliable internet access, and we know that there's going to be both federal and state funding available for that. So that's it. I'm done. Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you, Jackie. Does anybody have any questions for Jackie or comments? Okay, Jackie, thank you very much for the great work that you and this does for the network. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, next on the agenda is old business. Okay, is there any old business that come before the council this morning that needs to be dealt with? Okay, I will bring up an item. I want to give the opportunity for anybody else to bring it up, anything else, but I'd like to talk about the issue of not being able to attain or obtain quorums at these meetings, and the numerous vacancies that we have, and how we need to approach that and try to correct that, and sooner than later, because I mean it's been lingering for years, as we know. No criticism of anybody in particular, but we can't get our work done if we don't have quorums. There's very important things discussed at these meetings, and it's really sad today to see that we have such a small attendance of community action agencies compliments to those that are in attendance, but those that aren't in attendance, either here present currently in person or virtually. Nikki just gave us an important report and updates, Jackie. Something missing here. So Dan and I and Tina had a meeting yesterday on the phone for, I don't know, 45 minutes or longer to talk about the topic. Dan or Tina, do you want to speak any before I do about it? I'd like to give you that courtesy. Do you want to bring up anything?
Dennis, go ahead, and I have lots of things to say, but you keep going and I'll jump in after.
Same here,
Okay.
Dennis.
Okay, thanks, Dan. So as I said, we had a meeting yesterday. We felt the need to get together and try to strategize a little bit. And number one thing we need to look at, it goes beyond just the council, but into the bylaws. We need to look at the bylaws and make sure they're not too strict. And we may need to amend the bylaws. That would require a quorum to do that, obviously. And give us some more latitude in whether it be seating people or removal of people that don't show up for a certain length of time. I mean, an example is in the bylaws, it says if somebody misses X amount of meetings over a given period of time, they should be sent a letter. What's the outcome? We're talking about roaming here. What is the outcome? What do we expect for an outcome? I'm not saying that sarcastically. So you can send me a letter in the mail, tell me I haven't been to 6 meetings. What do you expect from me? So we need to think about that. Can we do it without changing the bylaws? Can we tell them if you don't attend the next one, you voluntarily quit? I mean, we need to get into this deeper. So we need to look at the bylaws and see what we can do, and hopefully with the council of Rob and Manny. We have two, just as an example, 2 individuals that have not attended a meeting for minimally 6 meetings, and now today, minimally it's 7 meetings. It's got to be addressed. I feel, and Dan and Tina also feel the same way. We need more representation. I know the bylaws require a diversity of representation, but we don't have enough community action people on this. This is to serve and to facilitate community action, this committee, this council. And the 3 of us agreed that it's populated by so many people that have nothing to do with community action. In fact, some of the people may even be retired individuals, so that's why they're not responding. So we'd like to populate a little more with community action agency representatives, and I suggested, and Tina and Dan felt a good idea. If the executive director can't do it, then let them appoint, suggest somebody else from their senior staff to lead the meetings, somebody representing community action. And the ending result, and then Tina and Dan, please add anything when I'm done. We agreed, and I've already discussed this with Manny this morning, we need to form a subcommittee, including Manny and Rob, the 3 of us, and maybe a couple other community action directors, and talk about these items I just talked about, and anything else we can brainstorm on. Because my feeling is we need these meetings as much as the Department of State is required to hold them. Now, I didn't drive down here today just to be here. We need to do these meetings. And I can remember, and I've been coming to these meetings for 27 years. I can remember, not necessarily always this room. And Ann Black is our deputy executive director. She's come along with me to every meeting. Also, the room, and Tina, you can recall, the room would be full, the table would be full with visitors around the room. I'm sitting here today and I've been wondering for the past 2 years, what's happened? So we got to get to the bottom of this and straighten it out. So Tina, Dan, please reinforce or add anything you want, and let's have a good discussion on this. Everybody in the room, please. Anything.
Dennis, for one thing, I was wondering if we could request from Manny and the staff for the council members a copy of the most recent approved bylaws. There seems to be some confusion about the date that they were actually approved. So if that could be sent out, I think maybe, hopefully some of those things, because the last copy I think we saw that was bylaws that were approved in 2014. But if memory serves me correctly, I believe had a quorum in 2017 or 2018 and passed those bylaws. So if those could be sent around to, at least to the council members, that would be quite helpful.
Okay, that's good. I forgot to
Yeah,
say that. Thank you.
your memory is correct, Dan. I wasn't seated on the council until 2015, and I do recall that there was a set of bylaws that was approved after that point in time. So the 2014 bylaws that we were referencing in our conversation yesterday have been modified, but I don't know what happened to those. Couple points. I think that there are, well, I'm not sure, but I noticed they're written down as being in attendance today. I didn't have my name called, and there may be a couple of other members who came in. I do see, for example, David Hahn Baker is here, and I'm not sure that I heard his name called either in attendance. So I agree that we need some sort of an ad hoc committee. I think that one of the things that we could do is really look at the appointment process. I'm not sure that people really understand the process that they have to go through or that they could go through to be appointed to this council. I think that we need to clarify that. Once we see the bylaws, I think that we also need to address the question that Dennis brought up. If a letter goes out to someone who has not been in attendance, so what? And is there a template for a letter that should go out to someone who hasn't been in attendance? Has that been used in the past? Is that something that we can look at again? And I think the last thing I'll say is that in the bylaws, when we talk about quorum, it says a simple majority of the council membership shall constitute a quorum at the meeting. But I don't think that that's clear. I think that can be interpreted a couple of different ways. Is council membership a seated membership or the entire 20-person membership? How is that determined? So those are some of my thoughts. I completely support the idea of having an ad hoc committee and certainly volunteer to be a part of that.
Okay. Anybody else in the room? Anybody else on who wants to comment about this? Manny?
So again, I appreciate everybody's comments, and as I started my comments this morning, I think that this has been a vexing issue for us, as you mentioned, Dennis, for a little while now. The pandemic kind of made it worse.
I would agree that did, yes.
But nonetheless, I think that, and I appreciate the action and the proactivity of the council members. I think it's really, really important. We've had some internal discussions here at DOS as that has become an issue for us as well. We have raised this also with executive and deputy secretary to start looking at this issue. So it's not something that we have not been aware of or been ignoring. Very frankly, I think we need to work together, as you mentioned,
We got to come
in order to look at the alternatives and possible solutions. So we're committed to doing that, very frankly, and we'll follow. We'll put together maybe a schedule of whoever we want on that. It's fine. But we're committed to trying to get this done because it is important, very frankly. The work that we're doing on the state plan, for example, is important. The work on the monitoring is important. But there are other things that this board has done, very frankly. You have raised issues about programming. You have raised the issue about contract processing. You have raised the issue about services. So it's not just having a quorum, it's the work of the advisory council that is so important to, again, fulfilling that CSBG mission. And we are also, very frankly, sensitive to hearing the voice of the council as the body, very frankly, that represents the CAAs. So the sooner we can get this going, the better.
We'll start as quick as we can and try to schedule some meetings and get going.
We'll work with you on that.
Yeah. Okay, good, thank you. Okay. Any other comments? Okay. Go ahead.
Dennis, I have a couple of questions. The first one I think is the same question that Tina asked, and maybe I'm wrong. Are the current vacancies causing a problem with getting a quorum?
It appears that they are included in what needs to be part of the whole body.
Okay.
Whereas at our agency, if there's a vacancy, it's not counted as a seat until it's filled again. You follow what I'm saying?
Okay.
And I think most of the agencies are like that. So we got to look at these bylaws and amend them to, I would say, I'm not trying to put Rob on the spot or even asking for an answer right now, but there's one thing there's two items here. There's legislation that requires that we have the council, but the bylaws should be able to be amended and tailored to work for the council. And if somebody's not seated, that seat should be not counted today as part of the quorum number, the base number. Does that answer the question, Charlie?
Yes, it does. And,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
my other question, when you started off, you said that there's a lack of community action agencies here today. The advisory council members who are CAAs, where we are in attendance, correct?
Yep.
They're-
Yes. Okay. I hope it wasn't misunderstood if I didn't mean it that way. We do have good representation
just
today,
wanna make sure.
obviously. We just don't have enough of them on this council, in my opinion. We should be a little more populated by community action agencies. So if I said it, if it came across, it wasn't meant to be a criticism. Charlie, more please from you? Any more?
No. Oh, yes, one more. On the latest bylaws, if I recall correctly, shortly after Manny came on, we amended the bylaws to establish the executive committee. So that should be the
He's right.
last change.
You're correct, Charlie.
So it's.
Yep.
I have those.
All right.
You got it.
No, I do. I have everything.
Jackie got him if nobody else has, but I'm sure you guys can find him here. If not, run this as always.
I'm sure Rob.
Charlie, I'm glad you brought that up. That gives us at least a benchmark on when the time was.
That's
Dan, were you
it.
gonna
That's
say
my
something?
one for the week. I'm done.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I'd like the ad hoc committee to consider and get clarification on is that most of us are used to nonprofit bylaws. We set up the structures, it's our constitution for our own agencies. But in a situation like this, where you have legislative and executive appointees, as an example, does it complicate removing a member? Because, or at least to make it clear who the governing body really is of the council.
It's a good point, Dan. Should we have the authority, and I feel we should, to remove somebody and not have to go to their appointer and say, they're not attending and will you take care of it? Is that what you're trying to say, Dan, basically?
Yeah, I mean, I think it needs to be made clear, because if we approve bylaws, I would assume that it would have to be approved by legal counsel. And then,
Right.
And then take on the issue of actually getting people appointed to the council.
Appointed and or removed. Good?
Correct.
Thank you, Dan. Yep. Dan, anything else?
Yeah, Dennis,
Nope.
Yes.
it's Maureen. I have a question. So do the bylaws stipulate the percentage of how many community action agencies versus elected officials versus whomever are on the council?
From what I've seen, and they aren't the most recent, it's not like 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, or 1/2 and 1/2. It just says it has to represent couple of different sectors of the population,
Okay.
governmental.
I think it's
So there's
five.
no set.
I think it's 5 for the assembly, 5 for the Senate, and 10 for the executive.
Oh, yes, in answer to that, yes.
That's correct.
But as far as how many could be community action or other agencies, it's not prescribed as what the balance is, in my opinion.
Right, but out of so the council is 20 members, is that correct?
That's correct.
So if I'm understanding correctly, that 5 of them have to be from, is that what you were saying, Dan?
5 has to be from the assembly, 5
Right.
from the Senate, and 10 from the executive branch.
Okay. Gotcha. So when those people are being recommended, I mean, I look at the representation today, and it looks like almost everyone, with the exception of maybe 1 or 2, are from community action. I don't know if quorum is an issue. I think it certainly deserves some attention to see who currently is on, what their commitment is, and maybe going forward, looking at individuals who are more closely connected. I don't know. it's a shame that everyone comes on board and nothing is able to get done.
Getting the appointments, I think we should address that as a
I
separate
agree.
problem from
Yeah.
the bylaws.
Yeah, you're right, that is a problem. That is a problem.
I'm seeing, Maureen, if I can just comment, I'm seeing at least six people of the total council are non-community action.
Mhm.
Then we have 5 vacancies. We have a
Wow.
couple of people here where it says what agency they represent. It's not even known who they represent. So, that's the way it stands right now.
Yeah, I gotcha, okay.
Okay.
Gotcha, thank you.
Is there any way to have like standard meetings? I just know that sometimes when the meetings come out, I've always moved things around my schedule to make it a priority to attend and be part of quorum because I know the importance of it. But sometimes, as a, CEO, my schedule isn't clear enough where in 3 weeks notice I can run to Buffalo. So if something like that happened, I know that would help some of us plan better across the year. If there were 3 meetings scheduled every year, we could plan for it. That might help with quorum. It would make sense to me.
That's a question for Manny.
Yeah, so a lot of times we try to do that, and then like everything else, things get in the way. There's not an excuse, it's just we have tried to do meetings once every 3 or 4 months, to be honest with you, just trying to find the right time to do it. So we'll continue to do that, because I think, Laura, you're right, it is much easier if you plan ahead and try to get them either date or time certain. And so we just have to work on solidifying the schedule. But I think you're right.
Okay. Thank you, Laura.
Can I jump in too?
Please, yes.
Just as a few reminders, as Dennis is talking about the importance of quorum, just reminding that quorum means that not meeting quorum means no action can take place until you establish quorum. So it's delaying the election of officers. We've asked Rob, our legal counsel, to give a presentation on the adoption of a resolution for virtual attendance, and we can't move forward with those things until we have a quorum and can vote on them. So I think again, in establishing a committee, the first order of business, I guess, would to be fill these vacancies. So that's, again, not to open a can of worms, but
good,
it kind of connecting the pieces for everybody.
Yeah, good point, Manny. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, but I think the first order of business is to shore up the bylaws, then we start dealing with appointments.
Yep, I agree.
Okay.
Yep. That gives us the basis for whether we're going to move forward with.
Dennis.
Yes, Dan, thank you.
Dennis,
Yes.
if you don't mind, could I perhaps provide some guidance to the advisory council on a number of issues that have been raised during this great discussion?
We would please like you to.
Great.
Go right
Okay.
ahead.
All right. So just off the top, establishing quorum. So that's statutory. It's very easy. So you have 20 members for the advisory council. That is set by regulation, not by bylaws. And interpreting how many people counts is set forth in Rules of General Construction, Section 41. You take the whole number, including vacancies. So your quorum is 11. That's what it is. If the regulation changed so that the size of the advisory council was different, then the quorum would appropriately change to still be the majority, but that would require rulemaking. In terms of, as everyone already discussed, the appointing authorities appoint folks to this council, and those authorities maintain the ability to remove them. They serve at the pleasure of the appointing authority. So action through bylaws done by this advisory council couldn't change that.
Okay.
In terms of, and just if there's discussions about setting up committees of this advisory council, that's certainly contemplated by the bylaws. I would just emphasize with everyone that a committee of the advisory council would still have to meet pursuant to public notice and public participation opportunity to view. So, you would still have to go through all of the open meeting law procedures and processes to have a committee meeting. And I agree with everyone that, yes, in 2018, the advisory council created an executive committee, but off the top of my head, I cannot remember if that was through any of the bylaws or simply through passage of a resolution. I just can't remember, but I will go look and find out.
So
I'm done. Thank you,
Thank you
guys.
very much. So not to be argumentative,
Uh-huh.
we have executive committee meetings, me, Tina, and Dan with Manny on a regular, but a regular basis. And it's not open to the public.
So you shouldn't do that.
We shouldn't do that.
You shouldn't do that. Okay. So committees of a public body that are meeting also have to be meeting in public. With notice provided through the standard meeting, and the public have an opportunity to attend that meeting.
Okay, so let me ask you this question. Dan and Tina and I had not an executive committee meeting yesterday. We're part of that. We didn't call it an executive committee. What's to stop us from forming a work group?
So the
reports
committee
out to the next meeting.
So the Committee on Open Government has a number of advisory opinions about public bodies forming work groups, and they are still committee meetings where the public should have an opportunity to attend and notice of the meeting being provided.
Now I see why this hasn't been fixed in years.
Mm-hmm. Now, I mean, if you and Dan and whoever else who are executive directors of
We just want to meet as executive directors.
you just want to meet as executive directors and you're not conducting the business of the advisory council,
Okay.
there's a difference. You're either cloaked in your role as a member of the advisory council.
Take your hat off and be. So we could meet like that, and then if we had questions, we could rely on you to answer questions for us at another time.
So just, keep in mind that the advisory council isn't going to be able to take any action outside of meetings in which quorum is established, where proper notice was provided. Right, so.
Okay. So we could come into a meeting and not say we're a work group or a committee, just say that we just happen to have a huddle here the other day.
If you are saying that you are having a huddle for the advisory council, you're
No,
right into
just a
the
huddle
same.
as executive directors.
A huddle as executive directors.
We've come up with solutions for the ongoing problems of the council.
Now if you're starting to talk about the council, deliberate about the council, you're running into the same issue. So, all of these things are. All right.
Okay. It's not you, it's the system.
Yes, it's.
You're the messenger. Okay, so, kind of throws cold water on the plan to have discussion on this, Manny, but we'll have to come up with a way. Dan, Tina? Thoughts, Dan or Tina?
Well,
Or anybody else?
I mean, that's helpful guidance,
Okay, good.
And I think,
Good way to put it.
for those of us, again, on CAP boards, I mean, it's not, when you create bylaws, it's different for nonprofits than it is for governments. Governments. So I think Rob's input, I think, would be very helpful. If the three of us want to meet unofficially at some point down the road and kind of come up with a strategy. But I also want to go back to Laura's point in that solidifying the meeting date to have a regular schedule, I think would help, because then Tina, Dennis, or I, or anybody on the council could call people ahead of time and remind them that the meeting is coming up. But when it constantly changes, or there's questions about who's showing up in person and can we do it virtually and things like that, I think it just sort of lessens our ability to get attendance up the way we need.
This is Mike, New York. I agree with that, Dan. And to Laura's point, I think having advance notice can help inform and maybe not compel, but remind members of what the expectations are. The expectations are to meet according to the schedule of meetings. It can only help. To the point about being cloaked under the auspices of this council, I think executive directors and others can meet informally as they do about other matters, and that's not something that has to be discussed at length in this meeting. But to the point about meetings needing to be public and transparent, maybe I'm missing something or I'm being too naive, but I see no reason why public notice can't be given if a committee for the council wants to formally address these issues. Attendance and meeting quorum has been an issue. If that entails the members of the Senate and the Assembly and the executive who are supposed to be making the appointments, and they're given notice that there will be committee meetings about the poor attendance or the long-standing vacancies or whatever. I see no problem with that. If members of the public want to attend the conversation, maybe there's things that wouldn't be said in that setting, but maybe there's things that should be said in that setting. So I would welcome that. I would look to attend, as I imagine other members would, if such a discussion were being held that was focused on that.
Good point.
I agree with Mike. I think that we should not let those restrictions prevent us from continuing to have this conversation.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I just, one, I think I'm never going to get away from using the term cloaked for the rest of my career. But two, I just wanted, in case I was not clear, that, I don't in any way want to discourage the advisory council from having committee meetings. What I do want to absolutely encourage is that proper notice and the public's right to attend is what occurs.
Okay, so
Just
we
in
can
case
do it.
I wasn't
We'll make it
clear.
work. We'll make it work. Yep, okay. Good. Anybody else?
Dennis, the members, I'm not asking you to name names, but the members who are missing their 6th and 7th meetings, has anybody reached out to them to see if they're still interested, see if they're still alive? I don't know who the people are.
We have,
Nikki
and
has.
we have, and it's been very difficult. So the last 2 meetings that were scheduled and then canceled because of not establishing quorum, the same emails that you receive go out to everybody. And you saw how many times I followed up as reminders. I thanked you for your responses. Those who did not respond got several other emails. We called, we sent them a letter. And
Okay.
yeah. So there is on our part a due diligence to follow up because we want quorum also.
Hasn't been explored.
Yeah.
Has there been some thought, or could there be some thought to the elected officials who've made the appointments being CC'd on these communications?
I can certainly look into that. I did not think about
That's
that.
a good idea.
But yeah.
Good idea. Yeah. Okay. Further comments, suggestions, observations? Okay, is there any other old business to bring up?
Can I just ask for something to be clarified that Nikki said earlier? On the slide for monitoring the income, we have to have an income policy as community action agencies. You're going to be monitoring for us to develop one of those.
Yes. It is part of guidance that we should be monitoring for an established income eligibility determination policy.
Isn't that just a contractual obligation?
Yeah.
Yeah, about 95% of the agencies already have that. It's just a few that don't.
Yeah.
Give us a copy.
Oh, yes. So to Dennis's point, he's saying a copy. The updated guidance will have a sample policy, a sample intake form. To Rob's credit, thank you. To accompany the policy
Okay,
or the update.
we'll do it. Good, thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
Laura, thanks for bringing that up.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions about today's meeting? Okay, it's not on the agenda, but is there any new business to bring up? I think we talked about everything so far, but just want to give the opportunity. Okay, so next meeting is to be determined in July. Hopefully we'll get a determination sooner than later. And I would ask for a motion for adjournment at this point, but we haven't even held a meeting, so to speak. So thank you, everybody who attended in any method that you did. And I think we had a good, healthy discussion on the topic that needed to be discussed.
Thank you.
Thanks again, everybody. Meeting is over with.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.